Guys, and welcome back to Gizmo Show. This is going to be part 2 of the Bruder Liber 574 loader. And basically, I'm going to show you what I've done here. So this is a stock axle, of course, rear axle. I pulled this bar out, and then it has this webbing right inside of here. You cut that webbing out just on the middle here. And this is the Magom aluminum axle, rims and tire package. And as you can see, this is their gearbox they sell. Probably sell for a few different models, but this is how I modified it into the original axle. That way it could still oscillate, you know. It comes with these two little aluminum spacers, and the axle shaft can actually come in and out. There's two set screws inside of this motor, the gearbox, holding the axle to the gears inside, and they're all metal gears. And then same thing with the wheels here, the rims, all solid aluminum, and they have a set screw when you pull the tire off that goes right through and meshes that axle up to the rim. Now, so you can see, pretty nice little tight fitting gearbox there, and I've had no problems with these. This is what we're going to use on this. I got it wired up, just plain old 2 wires going into a servo plug, a splitter actually, and then I got it wired up with just a regular plug here to go to the computer. So yeah, that's how I did it. Okay, so this is the rear chassis. You can see still has the fake hydraulics on there for the steering and the fake drive line there, drive shaft. We're gonna pull this off, and what we have done in here, we got to modify it so that axle housing on the rear can sit up in this area here. You see I marked the lines on there. I don't know how good you could see it, but I marked pretty much the size of a servo. We're just gonna cut that out with a Dremel, and then here on the bottom side, same thing. I marked it. And we're just going to cut these tabs off so it's flat in there, you know, and then cut that out around that square. And the rear axle will just go on there, you know, and the gearbox will sit between kind of in here and allow to move back and forth as the axle, you know, moves up and down with the terrain. So we're going to cut that out, and we're going to remove this and see what we got from there. See if we get this axle mounted up. Alright, so we're going to remove this here, this front section. Right here you can see this tang and this tang here. I'm going to go ahead and pry it open a little just like that, and it slides right out of the housing just like that. Normally we'd cut this out, the driveline spot, you know, and then cut these little tangs off of here. These things actually just pop off, you know, and we would flatten these things down here and then drill a hole straight through the center of that for our new shafts to go on there for the steering. But we have one that's already been modified from the last build that's going into this one, so we will just go ahead and eliminate that part, you know. We're going to go ahead and cut this up like I was telling you. Stay in the lines that I marked out there. And this is what I'm using. A small Dremel. I got a nice like wood bit on there. Really works great for this kind of job. Can't use a cutter this way or this way, you know, the cutting blade. It's a little too fat. You don't want to cut everything up around it, you know. You want to get as much of this as you can. just like that. So basically you want to leave a little bit here for structural support. I mean, it's not much, but it helps. And then right here on this side as well, leave a small section. Clean it up a little bit. All right. Let's give it a try here. So it's gonna sit like that, and it's supposed to rock back and forth. Hopefully it'll clear everything and we don't got to take the Dremel to it again. So I run these wires through there. Okay. And then you just gotta pop it. Come on, baby. Like that. If we did it right, we can pivot. You guys see that? Geared motor. Pretty simple. The rear is pretty simple. The front is pretty much the same thing. I'll show you that next. Look at that. That quick. Nice. It's the same exact gearbox from MagomHrc. It comes with these aluminum spacers, like I was telling you. I got them pushed out all the way. Even on the rear axle, that's the way I got them set up. So what I done, I have a servo steering this. This is a Magom steering brackets, you know, some steering arms, and you just mount them to the original eyelet, you know. And what I had done here was, you can see there's nothing mounting it here. You can easily take a piece of aluminum, make a little bracket, you know, you could screw down. This doesn't have any problems, doesn't really move. What I did was down here, I had cut out a little bit. I left some of this for structural support, you know, there in the center, just kind of support the servo. Then I bolted it up through here, bolted up a small bracket that comes through. It's a C channel basically. I don't know if you can see it. It's a C channel, bolts up, and then the servo bolts to that. And then the gearbox, I have a small cutout here in the top and the bottom to keep it right where I want it, and it won't move back and forth, you know. That's what I got this zip tie on here for. Drove it for quite a while and hadn't had any problems with it, so this is what I did. Oh, one thing that I did have to do, I had to shave these out a little bit for the steering on both sides. That way that this thing can actually turn. If not, it would hit the plastics. And you have to do the same thing to the top half, you know, that goes on top of there. And so like I said, here's a stock one here. And I cut out here just a little bit, here a little bit, the size of a servo. Sat it in there. I left this piece there though. Then I made that bracket, of course, and you cut this little tab out of here that holds the axle in. Cut this one out, just flatten it out. And with this, what I forgot to mention on the rear, you don't have to cut this down any. It's gonna sit exactly where it's sitting now. That's what those spacers there that they give you are for. Well, that's what I found that they're for anyway. They work great there. So same thing, you got to trim these out a little bit. That way the steering arms can do what they're supposed to. And so same thing on the rear axle, like I was just telling you. Let's see here. hang on there for a minute. This is the rear axle, okay? You do not have to cut this, open it up, or anything to get the axle to sit inside of there. You simply grind this out in here to where your gearbox could sit in there. You face it to where you have your set screw position up, but you can tighten it up from up here. Then you put your rod through, tighten it down, put your wheels on, make sure they're spaced out right, tighten them down. Then you're good to go. But you do not need to cut any of this out to get that gearbox to sit in there. This is one of the parts that actually keeps the gearbox sitting where it's supposed to be. See, because it can't go up or down. So don't cut that out. You need that. Alright, onto the front housing. You can see I got it marked right there with a Sharpie. We got to grind that out. That way them steering bars can do what they're supposed to. And this here, to get this out, you just pop it loose here. Pull this tab back. Pull this one back. And then kind of just push them in there. Pull it out the back side. Just like that. Now, alright, we're trying to pop these out here. These ones could be kind of tricky because you don't want to break them. So if you put your screwdriver in there and just lightly, just barely open it up and pull at the same time, it'll release itself. Let's see if we could do this one. Don't want to break them. Just pops on like that. Just pop it off. Same thing on the opposite side. Just pop it off like that. This little red guy goes in here. It's got two little spots. Just pry it out, pop it out. Now we'll mess with that later on whenever these linear servos come in. But to make this bolt onto this, it'll pretty much bolt on the way it is right now. I mean, clap together. But what we got to do is go ahead and trim this out like I was telling you. So I'm going to do that now. We'll trim this out. And alright, so you can see here I got marked. This would be the passenger side that the gearbox is sitting on. We have to cut this out a little bit so that it can clear this piece of the gearbox, the motor itself. Okay, as you can see I have this marked as well. I'm going to see if we don't have to cut that. If we do, it's not a problem. I just kind of don't want to see too much motor, you know. Let's see if that'll go on there. Like I said before, push these over. I kind of have them go right up to the edge there on both sides, right to the edge. Let's see if this is gonna work now. Look at that, we just just barely cleared all of that there. First clips. Line this up. Uh-oh. Not completely lined there. There we go. Clipped in. Solid. Perfect. So now, one thing I wanted to tell you about, same thing over here. When you build your lever here, your motor's going to sit off to one side and not the other there. Okay, so make sure, I would try to make sure that you have them both the same direction. This one going up here on the passenger side, same thing with this one here going up on the passenger side. And let's see. Okay, I see one thing we got to do right now. I forgot all about this actually. We're going to take this out. Sorry for my perfect circle drawings. I'm going to take that out so that our wires can run through there. That should work right there. Just like that. Alright, so basically what I got to do is cut this out, Wires are going to sit up in there. We can slide it into place and they'll sit exactly where they're supposed to be. So be careful not to cut the wire. Just like that. Let's see if that'll work. See, flush so they don't get caught. See if that'll do it. Just gonna feed them through like that. Line it up. We gotta get these wires so they don't get smushed though. Okay, I think we're good. And as we're going, we just got to pull them in. Just like that. Push it to clip. Both pangs clipped. Look at that. Got our wires through. Look at that. The whole bottom half. Steering how it's supposed to. Check that out. A lot of people don't got that. It oscillates how it's supposed to as well. This is just an easy way I found to build it. The first one I ever did, yeah, I had to put a lot of brainstorming into it. What to cut, where to cut, precisely where to, I needed to be with the Dremel. But as you can see, that's the end result. And it's got some nice steer to it. I'm going to throw a computer in here and hook it up to bind it to my remote and see if I can drive it around up here for you guys here for a minute. You can see how it does. This thing is extremely heavy. These tires are solid rubber, and the rims are solid aluminum. Adds quite a bit of weight to it, so that's what you want for pushing that dirt, Stay with me. Let me see what I could do. Let's see if I get a battery in here. Alright, so this is basically what we got. We'll do a little drive for it. This is my flysky remote. I use this on my Libre, my cab over. In the future I want to use it on my excavator as well. I got just a regular 1500 mAh lipo with an adapter. It's just something I had for my other rig. I had to pull a computer out of the Land Rover, because I didn't have a backup one to throw in here, just for testing. So basically I got the one motor lead going down to the Y, the splitter, and that feeds one gearbox here and one gearbox there in the front. It's a cheap eBay receiver. I think it's like $5, $6, $7. On the other end there, of course, goes into the battery. I got a FlySky 6-channel receiver on there that the buddy dropped off. It's just waiting for the other stuff to come in. And we'll go ahead and plug this up and see what we get. Yep, communicating. Look at that. Sorry if my camera keeps focusing. Now usually it's safer on the servo if you were to drive while you're turning. Just like 4x4 vehicles, when you have them locked in gear, you know, they feel like tanks when you're turning. They just climb anything, so when you have actual weight on there, a load. I gotta set the control. It's kind of, look at that, so much power. That is nice. That's it. Look at that. Amazing. Oscillating the rear. That is cool. For a quick test of what it could do, you know. We got these two dies from my shop press, and they're pretty damn heavy. I mean, solid steel, about 1 inch thick. Got one on there already, and we'll put another one on it. Let's see how it does. Look at that. Amazing. That is heavy as crap too, man. Yeah, right now it won't steal or nothing because it has so much weight on the back, you know. The front just kind of flops around. But there it is. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Continue to keep up with us. We'll have part 3 of this video when we get we want to use some linear actuators. We don't know if we're going to go servo drive. I don't think we are. We might just end up going with the more expensive Actuonics. I forget the other name for them, but that's probably what we're going to go with there. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and stay tuned for part 3. Thanks, guys. Thank you.